Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so we are live, and I can see a few viewers coming in. We're doing things a little bit different today. You might say old school in a way, and that is that we are using the StreamYard studio today for purposes because I failed to let Mike and Cindy know that they needed headphones today, and I'm all still new at this, recruiting new people to be part of the Supernatural Show network. And so we're just going live. And I see a little bit of a crowd piling in. We're live with Mike and Cindy with Energy Arts, Evolutionary Energy Arts. And going to introduce them to y'all guys today. And we're going to have a little conversation, learn more about who they are. I'm going to share their YouTube channels. Looks like you have about 3 YouTube channels.
Yep,
Is that
3.
right? And
Yeah.
do you have Rumbles or anything else yet?
We're on Rumble, Brightian, and BitChute too.
Okay. And I know we talked about it a little bit before, but you might want to look at the Rumble Studio and allowing you to broadcast to all of them at one time. And they even have a way to do it where you don't have to use OPS. You use their own online studio. It's actually really cool. I hope they don't decide to start charging for it. That's all I can say. But then I also found another way, but I haven't perfected it yet, or we would be using it today. Another platform. Let me see if I can remember what it's called. It's called Stream Elements, I believe. Stream Elements. If anybody wants to know anything about that, they can look up Stream Elements, and you will see. Okay, come on, give me my screen back. There we go. You will see some software that is another way to be able to broadcast. And one of the cool things about it is it will allow you to broadcast to TikTok. TikTok is very funky about allowing us to broadcast like this and other places, but however Stream Elements done it, you can broadcast to TikTok at the same time with other platforms. So that's kind of cool. I'm working out kinks on that. So what's happening in the Evolution Energy Arts studios these days?
Just keeping up with everything, which we're always busy. So we just already today, we have clients that we see all the time, and we've been doing different sorts of energy work. We do life coaching. We help in whatever way we can with helping people optimize, their mind, body, spirit complex. Because again, that is what we are. So we view it very, very holistically.
Some people would say that's hocus pocus, Mike. That's hocus pocus.
Yeah, it's just a matter of understanding the science behind it, which it's all kind of there now. If you just look, you'll understand that our intentions are helping to create reality every moment.
If healing people through working with energy is hocus pocus or witchcraft, that would make Jesus Christ a witch.
Yeah.
And we all know he is not. And he all told us that we all would do things even greater than he.
Yeah.
When it comes to all things like healing, I know with my own experience in my life, I've learned how to focus what I call the energy of love. I have the ability to dump adrenaline into my blood system. It feels like water pouring down my back. And I can focus it through my hands and lay my hands upon people, and which I have done. I don't talk about because it's not something I brag about. But in this situation, I think it's appropriate to say that I've had many experiences with clear, even instantaneous healings with different people. in different situations. It took me a long time to gain my confidence in understanding that, that not only but we have these abilities to do these things, because, many, many, many years ago, they used to burn people at the stake and call them witches because they were learning these kind of things. And, they called them witches. And again, if people are witches for trying to use energy and the energy arts to try to help people improve their lives, then I guess, like I said, Jesus Christ was a witch, and all of us are witches then, because I know it's a real thing. So I just wanted to, as Shannon would say, throw that in there, because I don't want anyone to shut the door thinking, because y'all guys get into a lot of things, you're into a lot of different types and styles of energy healings. And tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's always been one of my most driving passions. How can we be the best versions of ourselves? And what I discovered as I was going deeper down these rabbit holes is just that we have everything we need right now. We just have to develop it, cultivate it.
Yeah.
So, to be the best version of yourself, it really is something you have to look at: mind, body, spirit. We could say all sorts of things, and we probably all have met people that, might have these heartfelt feelings of repentance, but then they go out, they get drunk, they kick the dog, and they beat their wives. What good is that? I mean, that's no good at all. You have to really, truly change the way you view everybody, everybody, everything, and look at everybody from that standpoint of understanding that we're all on this big journey, of which, for the most part, people haven't had a clue of really who we are, why we're here, all the big mysteries of life. But that's just simply because we've been born into a control system that's been manipulating us since day one. And, burning the witches, that was just simply control. It's just like if you went to say back in 2020, 2021, that, hey, you've been feeling sick, you think you have that thing that's, that plague that's upon the land, you might want to detox, you might want to try to build your immune system. That could be the equivalent of what somebody in ancient times was trying to help somebody out with by saying, oh, well, take this plant, maybe take a little echinacea for your cold. Maybe you shouldn't smoke so much, drink so much, in order to overcome the addictions that develop in our life and all the negative things that lower our frequency, because it is about frequency. We could see that the control system, it feeds off of low frequency. It feeds off of fear. It feeds off of anger and hate. So when you have a Yeshua proposing that instead of smacking somebody back that smacks you, you turn the other cheek, and if they're going to hit you again, okay, and not holding any sort of animosity towards them, that takes a lot of compassion to do that, and to realize that people,
passion and understanding, the real truth of this world.
Yeah, absolutely. And this control system is the same control system from back in the day when Yeshua walked the earth. It's the same control system. It's just operated through slightly different means and modalities depending on the technologies in play, but it's the same thing. It's always, do what I say, not what I do, as we see with, all the politicians and everything coming out. And, again, when you look to what they cultivate in society, is a society dependent on the system. So they don't want you questioning your doctor. They don't want you questioning the priest. They don't want you.
Don't question authority.
Exactly.
Right.
Which we all know the most high authority is supposed to be God, and that's the only authority that we're supposed to have is our Father in heaven. What do you think? What do you think God meant when it was written in Genesis that I think it was maybe it wasn't Genesis. Well, yeah, it was several books, but anyways, in the Bible where it says that we are in the image of God. What does and it sounds like maybe a loaded question, and I, of
No,
course,
if you understand, like the basic Hindu philosophy is that the divine sparks in all of us. We're all different fractals with that divine spark inherent in us. So our nature is spirit. Our nature is not physical. We're having a temporary physical existence in order to learn some lessons, to explore some possibilities, learn and grow. But our true nature is.
I call it that we're the pupils, and I relate it to that our eye is like a pupil. And if you look at the sun, like if you look at your website, I found something very interesting on your website, and I really liked it. Not your website, but actually your one of your YouTube channels. Let me show you. You see the image that's in the background behind us right now. It is the supernatural, what they call the full solar halo, which is the image of the eye. And of course, I happen to notice that y'all guys have that in on your YouTube channel, and I was like, wow, because that is it's a huge thing to let us know that we are the pupils. We are students here. We're here learning, and supposed to have this experience for a reason, to try to make us better spirits. And when it comes to the image of God thing, my thoughts with that a little bit are, it means more than just the simple words say. We're talking about image of God. That's like saying, I mean, that is a huge supernatural statement, and it means great, beautiful things and authorities that we have, and that we were given and have been given, and Christ tried to teach us about it. And like I said, he said we would do things greater than even he. But yet, if we're worried about all the dogma that's been put on us from different religious corporate organizations around the world, don't do this, don't do that. Like Catholics, they're not even supposed to read the Bible. It's like you got to go to the priest to get an answer to something. And I think I'd rather go to the Father directly. And that's part of what Christ died on the cross for, is to give us direct access, I believe, to the Father, so we can communicate and be in his presence, because I know he's here right now amongst us.
It's like people don't realize that, for instance, there was over 200 gospels in circulation in the early days. Over 200. They only picked 4. Who picked 4? It's the same elite group that runs the show that actually picked the books that were going to come into the Bible, because many of them, most, were eliminated. And they burned every copy they could of all those books that were eliminated. When you see like the Nag Hammadi texts that we discovered, again, you're starting to look at stuff that used to be in circulation back, within 100 years of when he walked the earth, and even in some cases before when he actually walked the earth. But they eliminated all those type of texts because they basically didn't give a foundation of power that they wanted to project. They wanted to give you exactly a dogma to follow, which they did, and again, put people to death for being heretics. If you went against the official church doctrine, you were executed. They killed people left and right, and
made examples of them, burn them in the center of town and stuff. Do not touch those things, those other Bibles, those other books that should be in the Bible. Don't touch them. Don't learn about your authority. Don't read Enoch and learn about things that he was teaching about. Don't read any of those things. And it's like, no, I think I'm going to read them.
Oh yeah.
I really had to step outside. I really enjoyed going to church and doing all the things. I really love that community energy. But I could never find any answers. And I also felt very guilty about myself because I'm interested in astrology. I'm interested in tarot cards. I'm interested in all the things. And I just, I felt bad about being me. And that right there kind of upset me after I went outside of it and I started reading the Sumerian tablets and started reading other books and realizing there's more answers. So I took another step into Vedic astrology. And by stepping outside of the book, that's where I was able to, it's like, okay, there's so many good things out there. There's a blessing with every so-called belief system. There's something good to learn from all of them. And that's where I found my peace is kind of going all over the place.
Right. Yeah. And that's really, honestly, that's really where I have been for a while now too, is, I can remember many times people saying that the King James Version is the only version of the Bible that's any good and this and that. So then I said, okay, well, let me study who King James was. And then let me study why King James made a new version. Wasn't the old version any good? What happened to the word before? Why did we need to keep changing it? And realized, oh, maybe we need to try to go back to the beginning and search from the beginning. Like Roxy would say, you got to go back to the beginning in order to start understand where you're at now.
Right.
And that is true. And so the long or short of it is that I question everything. That's just me. Everybody out there has got to have their own path because you're the one that's going to have to make the choices. You're the one that's going to have to live with the results of your choices. So don't listen to me that's what you should do. I'm just being honest and saying that's what I do is I question everything. I'll look at everything. And for me, I've found that it has helped me a lot. And understanding the bigger picture of things. Something you said earlier too, you mentioned the fire of God, or the eternal fire is within all of us. That's not the exact quote for what you said.
The spark,
Yeah.
the spark is within all of us.
The spark, yeah, it's that divine spark. So, if you go and like, for me personally, when I was 11, that's when I decided, because I didn't grow up in an overly religious house. I grew up in a Catholic house, but I had just this desire to know more. So I dragged my mom to a Baptist church, to evangelical churches. We went all over together because my mom was like my best friend as I was young and growing up. And she was always looking to explore things with me. And so I dragged her to all these different, churches, trying to go back farther and farther. At one point, I was, because this whole thing has been in me since I was able to read. I have to, discover for myself. I was exactly on that path of, okay, I got to get back to the oldest, more original versions, texts, and, discover what they say. So, it led me to like all different churches and out of the church, to everything from Jewish temples to Hindu to Buddhist. I've explored like every religion I could find.
Have you been exploring language too?
Yeah, certain languages. Like I could read a lot of Sanskrit words. As long as they're spelled out in English, I'll know what the meanings are to a couple hundred Sanskrit words. So, that's where I found some amazing things, was when I first read like the Upanishads. And then it's like, wait a minute, I know this. This is so much reflective of the stories in the Bible, the parables. When you read the Upanishads, they're like echoing, it's the same sort of biblical wisdom, but from a totally different place and in a totally different manner. I did go through all the Gnostic texts. Yeah, I've studied everything, every religion I could think of. And it's been a lifelong thing, going back to when I was about 10 or 11. I literally hand copied whole books to put them to memory of the Bible. Like I hand copied the book of Isaiah, all the minor prophets by hand in order to put them in memory. And that's when I came to this realization when I was like 16 that holy crap, it's not something that people would probably want to hear, but there's a control system that's changing things, distorting things, twisting things, and that control system is not human like us. It's something else. And it just hit me like a truck. And it was a big realization when you realize the day of the Lord. And what is the day of the Lord? I mean, it really looks a lot like what you see in Independence Day and these sci-fi movies with alien invasions and things like that. But when you go into the Hindu
It will
script,
be supernatural for sure.
yeah, when you go into the Hindu scriptures, there's all these different classifications of vimanas. Vimanas are, UFOs. They're ships that different beings were using to go around the earth back in the day, so like literally going back 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. The people were used to seeing the devas and the asuras, which are in some ways equivalent to what we might think of as angels and demons, or you could say ultra terrestrials. These are beings that are just way more advanced than us, and they would interact with us all the time. But we would see them, and they did use different vehicles to get around the earth, and they were actually classified into different classifications.
I think you can look at all cultures, like all of our cultures we have now, all the modern cultures, go back 500 years, look at that version of all those cultures and the names that they called the things that we're calling things now. And the names change over time, but I think there tends to be a set of deities, beings that are here, that have been here, and the technologies have been here. I would say that during the times where they were building the big giant temples and doing all that stuff, looks like it was carved in mud. It's just perfect, I would say that we think we're at the highest level of evolution of man now, but I think we're actually more towards the bottom.
Yeah.
And we're trying to wake back up, and hopefully that's what leads us to truly another age where we are, finally heaven on earth kind of a situation. But
the thing is, in these stories, though, these beings at a certain point, the earth is basically confronted with these beings that are very, very much in service to themselves. And they come in, and when an Asura comes to the earth, what does an Asura do? The Asura lands and into their ship, literally comes out, gets all the humans to make them a temple, and gets the humans to worship this being, and do everything like with the sacrifices. The first sacrifices were really given to these beings as like an offering, so they wouldn't be punished or killed by these beings with higher technology. This happened in the Kali Yuga, the Dark Age. Like there's 4 different periods of time in the Vedic world, in the Vedic philosophy.
I think there's actually not only 4 different periods of time, but I think there's also 4 different realms of existence. I look at anytime I look at any subject matter, I look at the human body, and then I look at the world, nature itself, and try to find the comparables. And like it appears to me that the way Father talks about in the Bible, how there would be he likes to let land lay fallow for periods of time. And we always hear right now that we've always got some Arctic area that's melting all the time, and then we got other Arctic areas, if you look into it, that are freezing up more and more. And it's like a slow progression of the ice melting over here and freezing over here, and it's like a movement. I don't know if y'all guys have ever heard me say before, but I spell the word world I spell it instead of WORLD, I spell it WHIRLED, world,
Mm-hmm.
because everything in this world whirls,
Mm-hmm.
and there's great substantial evidence out there if you want to start looking. And don't think I just sound like a crazy man. I kind of look like one today, but don't sound like a crazy man. But it seems like to me that there are 4 areas, and I think that we only have access maybe currently at this time to literally 1/4. And the Bible even talks about 1/4 and all this kind of stuff. It's like, well, how is, when the end of time comes, we're tribulation, whatever, how is only 1/4 of the world hurt? Well, the other 3/4 you don't have access to. They're out there somewhere, and we're here. And it's a slow progression, I think, that we move into those lands. It's like, how was it they just supposedly found America? The white man found America, a few hundred years back. How was that possible if we've been here all these thousands of years? All it means is that over time things reset, and you have a new land, a area of land that becomes available. And I know this is theoretical.
No, we're in agreement with you.
Total
And
agreement.
you've done this from your point of view on your own, and we came to the same conclusion coming from a different point of view.
Yep, that's the beauty of it, ain't it?
Yeah. I mean, I was really tortured when I was younger. I come from a very broken lineage. I think people have heard about where they would take the Indian children, the indigenous children, and they would put them in boarding schools. And a lot of those boarding schools were not nice. And my father was one of those Indian children who was put into a boarding school. And he was really abused really bad. So that lineage, he was Native American child, had his culture, grew up with the land, understanding parents, shaman, very, very strong in my lineage. And he never shared much of this with me. It's like he tried to tell me without telling me, because I think he was afraid I was too different for the world. Ultimately, I ended up having to follow back my own DNA and figure out who I am. And I'm very much, you could say, a shaman, because I'm a bridge. I'm a bridge from this world to the other world. And that's just my natural way. But we all are. All of us are. You are, Mike is, it's just to what degree do you want to cross that bridge? And following our DNA, I think, is very important. Figuring out who we are, where we come from, and being okay with that, because no one really has the right to judge who you are. These Indian children were very much one with the land.
We talked a little bit today on the first video we did this morning about the Inuit people in Greenland, because, Trump wants Greenland now, and Denmark is saying they're not going to give it to them. And might cause a conflict and everything. But the Inuit people themselves, the Danes, when they came, they forced sterilized them. And yet the U.S. can't say anything, because the U.S. forced sterilized indigenous Native Americans. They did it to the Hopi. They did it.
They're doing it to us right now.
Yeah. And that's what they're doing to us now. You're right. And so what it is they don't want you developing your pineal gland. They don't want you developing your abilities, that you have a healing ability. Your pineal gland's working. They don't like that.
Speaking of pineal glands, we're going to be talking about this on y'all guys' show here. Not just this, but the pineal gland sits right here above this. This is the ethmoid bone, or I call it the ethics bone. And the pineal gland, this is, if you were looking out of your head, this is right between your eyes. I showed this to y'all guys recently. And it's called the ethmoid bone because, as you can see, it's in the image of a cross with a veil hanging on it. It's also in the image of the ark. And it's also in the image of the Ark of the Covenant. Right below this, as you can see, of course, it looks like a boat or an ark, and here's all your ports And there's that big thing right up in the front that the boats always have, and they have the bow down here like that. But right below this and behind it, there's another bone. It's called the sphenoid bone, and it has a set of 4 wings like a butterfly that sits right below here and connects to this bone. And this bone is the bone that's right up. This is your sinuses right in here. And when you stick a Q-tip up your nose and you were to go way in there with a long one, you're going to bump up against these little holes right here, but from the underside, as you can see, they come through out right there. Back in the Egyptian days, they used to take a reed and they would jam it up and hit these holes and bust these holes here, and it would turn the person into according to what I've read, it said they would damage this and it would turn the person into a compliant slave, basically.
Wow.
Makes me wonder why were they jamming these things up our noses, pushing up in there and hitting those same things? I would imagine it's related in one way or another.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned the fire that exists within all of us. You have right here, if we click that top bone that's right there, it's called the crista galli. Galley is a term based on a boat. It's a boating term. A galley is where something hangs out, and in this case, the basically what some people call your third eye or whatever, it hangs out right here above it, And what's even cooler, I didn't mention it to y'all guys the other day, but I'm going to share all this on y'all guys' channel, but I got much more we can get into. We're going to look at the whole body. It's unbelievable the things that Father has allowed me to see. But if you look at this right here exists right between the 2 eyes, okay? The 2 liars or the 2 thieves, kind of like how Christ was crucified on the cross. And here is the crista galli where the Christ hangs out. Mm-hmm. And on both sides, you have the eyes. And this is right in the center of the skull between the eyes. Can y'all guys remember where it is that in the Bible it says Christ was crucified?
Well, cross, right?
Golgotha.
Golgotha.
Yeah.
Golgotha.
That's the skull.
It means the skull. And if you go look at the location, the Golgotha, it's in the image of the skull, and there's 2 eye sockets and everything. And right where Christ was crucified is this exact spot right here, right between the eyes of Golgotha, the image of the skull.
So this is something that vast majority, 99.something% of the people that might say they're Christian don't have a clue of.
Don't have a clue.
Not
I didn't
a clue.
learn this in church. I learned this through prayer and meditation.
And that's what it takes. See, I mean, that's what it takes. You actually didn't need really anything. You just needed to go within and to contact those beings that have all the answer. And that's by going within, where, we were talking about King James. He was also the head of all the Masonic lodges in Scotland and in England at the time. So you could say that he was the top official of the secret societies, and, here you go. This is the knowledge that's preached in the inner circles. When you go into these groups, then they start to teach you the actual truth when you get to a certain level, but you don't need them because you've done it for yourself.
Yeah. And I don't want them. I will read all these things, read the other books, read things. I will consume and take anything in, and then I will spit out what that when I take, because I don't do it immediately. If someone says something to me that I don't agree with and it wants me to get that knee-jerk feeling, I stop myself. I don't take it personal. I don't make assumptions about what they mean, and I ponder it for sometimes days, weeks, months, maybe even years, because who am I to say what the ultimate truth is? And I need to be careful of making judgments. course, my name is Daniel, and Daniel in Hebrew means God is your judge. And I have a tattoo on my back, shoulder to shoulder, that says only God will judge me. I got that before I even knew that my name meant God is your judge.
Mm-hmm. There's so much wisdom to be had. You know, there's plenty of wisdom in the Bible, but there's also plenty of wisdom in Buddhism and Hinduism and all the isms. And
going to God directly.
Absolutely.
That's
going
the biggest thing.
That's what you get. That's where you got to take it. You go learn these things and take it to the Father.
Right. That's why I like to, because I don't want to miss out on anything. So maybe Buddhism covers some things that the Bible doesn't.
Oh, there's
it's maybe Hinduism covers some things
when you look at the scope of the Hindu texts, you know the breadth of the Hindu text, the Bible is like 1/1000th of all the scriptures.
Massive. Yeah.
It's so small. Yeah, it's massive. You know, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata are, you know, more like stories and allegories and things like that. And the Puranas give you a lot of deep wisdom. The Upanishads, I always think the Upanishads are a lot like, if you like, the parables, because they'll give you wisdom in parables. So that's probably the easiest place for somebody to go and feel very comfortable, like you're reading some of the Bible, because it's going to give you the same basic type of moral stories and basic wisdom. But there's other spots that are just mind-blowing, like in the Bhagavata Purana, it literally talks of beings that come out of the sky. They come down, they land on the ground, and literally are describing to this like holy man the world that they come from, because it's a different world than this world. It's very far away, but space.
Well, I would call it a different realm.
Yeah, a different realm. You know, there is, you know, misconceptions like, you know, the space is really more of an ocean than it is a vacuum. It's not like a lifeless void. We know that there's viruses, bacteria, there's all sorts of things in space. Panspermia.
You ever seen that rocket launch?
What's that?
You ever seen that rocket launch where it was somewhat amateur, but it was a legitimate rocket? They put some money into it, and they shot it. They fired it off, and it went straight up. And it's on YouTube. You can actually pull it up, but it went straight up instead of, you know, doing the NASA turn.
Right.
You know, it went straight up, and it was doing enormous amount of speed, and it was spinning as it went. It had cameras on it, and it was showing the speed of, it has little things telling you the speed of the rocket, the altitude. And there comes a point where the rocket goes kaboosh, and lands in the ocean, and you can hear water boop, 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 boop. And it didn't crush the rocket. It was like cotton gloves caught it or something. It just stopped it.
Yeah.
And like, nope, can't go any further in this kind of rocket anyways. And it literally sounds like water, and it's amazing to watch it get stopped.
When you were saying before, you know, and you're looking at the microcosm in the body and applying that to the macrocosm, literally we are living in a cell. Everything that we see is just a single cell in something much, much bigger. So you can apply that, the fractal nature of the universe. The universe is fractals. So, you know, it's basically the whole is contained in the individual units as a template. And so when we look at different
smaller, bigger.
Yep. And
think about when you find something in your body, you can find it in nature, you can find it in the heavens, and the Bible even says that.
Yep. And when you look at the body will have two different cells that are right against each other, but typically they don't merge, but cells can go ahead and split at some point in time. But there's intracellular fluid and then there's extracellular fluid too, interstitial. So there's like this fluid balance that keeps things together with a semi-permeable membrane. So, you know, as far as like the ability to come in and out of this bubble, this zone, Yeah, no, there are beings that come and go all the time, and you know they can do it. We could do it when we're shedding our physical body. Like if we projected our consciousness, we can leave this realm.
I've had experiences myself. Some people call them outer body. Some people call it, well, various things. It's where you're asleep and you wake up in your sleep and you know you're asleep and you can't move your body. Most of the time, most people are frightened and they just get stuck in that situation or they wake up. I've actually calmed myself, said, I've done this 50 times. I've never been hurt. I'm just going to calm down and take control of the situation. When I did that, next thing I know, poop, I pop out of my body and I can see myself in the chair over there. And I'm like, hey, this is kind of cool. And I go flying around.
Yeah.
Go flying around like Peter Pan,
Yep.
you know, and in control of the vision, you know, this kind of thing, just amazing stuff, you know.
What you were describing there, I still remember one time when I did that, and then I just had the intent. I was just starting to think about like the you know, planets and stuff way far away, and I start moving so fast that all of a sudden the Earth is getting much smaller below me, and I panic. And next thing you know, I'm back in the body because it was like, oh, yeah, you know.
What makes us think that Enoch didn't experience something similar?
Yeah.
And then also, you know, talking about beings coming down and landing and being here and stuff. And of course, last time when we spoke privately, I explained to y'all guys that I've had firsthand up close experience with what I call angels that are bright white, round all about. Is it the book of Enoch that says that the angels are bright white and round all about? It's either the book of Enoch or it's one of the in the books itself. But if you go and really start researching, you'll start noticing a pattern of that there's a lot of descriptions of angels being bright white and round all about. And I've seen them in my audience. This isn't nothing new to hear me say such wild tales. But normally when I've seen them the most either on a mountaintop or by the water's edge. And the water's edge has been really amazing because I've seen one of them cast a lightning bolt into the ocean. I've seen them streak above my head with pixie dust floating down around me. And I thought, well, I know where Disney come up with their Tinkerbell flying around with all the pixie dust. You know, they're mocking basically that kind of thing. And so I know that there are, I mean, can I say what kind of an angel it is that comes to me like that so many times? And not just one, but multiples, up to like 8 or 10 at once quite often. Can I say exactly what type of angel it is? I don't know at this point. I want to know. I'm hoping one day that they will show me more like they did Daniel in the Bible, that they will choose to communicate with me. And but that hasn't happened. I mean, they communicate through their actions to me, like when they streak across the sky and they leave that streak of pixie dust or light in the air. When they above my head at nighttime, I'm looking up at it and it goes poof, and it explodes and lights up the ground in every direction just for a fraction of a second, like if lightning had struck, but there's no lightning. It's very similar to that video. I even have it on the intro video for the Supernatural show where that orb came down right above the rock of the dome, sat there for a moment, and then flashed and lit up the city, and then struck straight up. I've seen all that in person.
Yeah, we've had a ton. We've actually caught quite a bit on camera too that we've shared over the years. And you know, Cindy saw this orb go in Amargosa and come down.
Oh my gosh, out in the desert. I was driving down the road and it was right during my awakening. And I'm driving down the road and I look right before a turnoff in the desert, this huge bright light. It was the size of like a 16 or 17 foot teardrop. Okay.
Damn, y'all gotta scare somebody. Jeez. Give me a heart attack.
You okay?
I'm like, I heard noise in the back of my house. There ain't nobody here but me. I hear footsteps coming this way. I'm like, make sure I ain't got to go put the knuckle.
Yeah.
This huge orb, it came straight from the sky. I mean, it dropped straight. That's probably what caught me the most. And the second it hit the ground, it just burst. I mean, this was big enough, just everywhere.
Yep.
This was big. I stopped my car. I got out of my car and I checked the area out. There was nothing there. But you know what? Sometimes our angels, they come and they say, hey, we got your back. You know, don't you worry about anything. We're here.
Mm-hmm. When you in earnest try to work for the Father, I believe that his will is in his hand is then upon you, and someone can literally put a gun in your face and pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to happen if it's not the will of the Father in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And I've even witnessed like in the Matrix, the whole slow motion thing. You know, with everything going into slow motion. I've had that in my life like a dozen times. You know, where I was in death-defying situations and time slowed down. Click, click, click. Whoa, I'm going to die here. Well, maybe not. And then nothing happened. You know, everything's fine. All kinds of supernatural things. And I used to kind of ignore a lot of it, but I don't ignore much anymore. Matter of fact, the other morning, I'll tell you one more crazy thing. The other morning, and I know this is more about y'all guys, but I can't help it. I run my mouth. The other morning, I woke up and sat up in bed and put my pants on. I looked down and I wear flip-flops a lot. I'm in the South. Normally I can get away with it. And I looked down and there's a bolt about that long laying in my shoe, laying in my flip-flop. And I'm like, that looks like a lug bolt. And I reached down and pick it up and I'm looking at it. It's actually laying right out my front door right here, but I'm looking at it. I'm like, lug bolt in my shoe. I'm like, well, one, I ain't ignoring this because where did this come from and what's it doing in my shoe? I don't got bolts in my room in there, you know? And so I decided, okay, let me think about this a little bit. Let's let it sink in a little bit. And it ended up being the craziest thing. 2 years ago, I was replacing the alternator on Miss Kim's car. And someone volunteered to help me. It ended up not being help, but they lost this lug bolt or this bolt that goes into the alternator that mounts the alternator to the car. And it's the OEM equipment, solid steel bolt for the alternator. And it is what creates the grounding connection to the block of the engine. Now, for 2 years, we've been having all these problems with the electrical system. We about have to jump the car off every time we drive it because it just never will charge right because something's wrong with the voltage coming from the alternator. And when the guy lost that bolt, I went and bought another one that was the same look, but it wasn't the same bolt. It didn't have the same materials. It wasn't steel. But I wasn't thinking this. I'm just thinking it's a bolt. Yeah, it's holding it tight. We're good to go. No, this bolt, I took some images and pictures of the bolt itself and the numbers that were on it. And it goes to a 2008, 2012 Cadillac CTS alternator bolt. I'm like, what? This bolt been gone for 2 years and it showed up in my shoe because it's been about to worry me to death that I can't get this car straightened out. The voltage won't work right. And I can't help it. But Father put it in my shoe or sent an angel and put it in my shoe, you know, because it was just gone for 2 years and then poof, laying in my shoe one morning. This just happened the other day.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's, you know, little things like that can happen. There's these little elementals. I call them elemental. Well, there's angels, elementals, and there's, you know, different types of beings out there. But
a lot of different
the
types.
Elementals that tend to come into my world like to play tricks and they like to play games. And the little stinkers, if I lost my keys or lost a thing looking for a crystal, I swear to goodness, they will sit right on it and I can't see it until I call my finders and I say, finders, I need help. And it's like my finders help me find the thing, but at the same place I've looked at 10 different times, I didn't see it all 10 times, but the 11th time after calling my finders, there they are.
Yeah, I think in the Christian world, you might call them like the little cherubs, like the little cherubic angels, but they're like an elemental type of being. There's tons of them. They're all over. They vastly outnumber us.
There's a lot of people that don't believe there's anything that they can't see.
Yeah.
Well, the visible light spectrum is
tiny.
so tiny, though.
There's way more that you can't see than what you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way more. And yeah, exactly. Guys, I think because of the fact that I'm using the StreamYard studio today in order for us to be able to do this, because I failed to let you know about the headphones things.
Okay.
I know we're coming up here, and I probably need to wrap it up because I think they're going to cut us off here in just a few minutes.
Okay.
And so to keep that from happening, I'll give you a couple of minutes here to, matter of fact, let me do this. Let me go back here for a second. And I wanted to show y'all guys this webpage. It's called evolutionaryenergyarts.com. If you'd like to talk to them and maybe they can help you in some way, or just check them out and follow some of their content. They've got this YouTube channel here. Now, these links are below the video in the description, below the live show video. In the description, their links are down there for their website and their main YouTube channel. Which one would you call your main one?
I think Arts now, Evolutionary has 65,000 or 6,000 subscribers, but that one seems to be censored even more. So it's like, I don't think people get, ever any notifications. So we focus a little bit more on Arts, but we still post to all three to keep them functioning. There was a long period in time where, 2 strikes and just waiting for them to clean us out. So that's why.
If you ever get 2 strikes again, did I share with you my method of keeping your channel?
Oh, I did that too. I turned everything either private or I got rid of them.
Yeah, the only thing worse than having to delete your own content is having to start over from the beginning. So if I ever get a second strike, I'll delete everything on the channel. And then I've got copies of all of it so I can start reloading it. But that's unfortunately a thing that we have to tend with. I've had my YouTube channel terminated 4 times.
Wow.
Myself. I've been through that battle. It's been over, actually now we're entering into 17 years, me being a full-time, I don't really like the word YouTuber, but a full-time doing Father's work. I didn't know that's what I was doing when I really started out, because I was really more seeing it are lies and conspiracy stuff. And I'm like, I can see that this is bunk, and I started doing a lot of conspiracy type stuff. And then I started searching for the truth. Well, that led me to the Father, which I was already knew of the Father. And I had a crucifix on my back. I have a crucifix from the top of my spine to the bottom of my spine. In the image of Christ, and I have only God will judge me across the top of it. So, I mean, I was already on that path, but when you start really searching for truth, you're going to find God. And that's been a blessing for me, for sure. When did y'all guys start really out working, doing this kind of stuff?
The videos 9 years ago. As far as energy work, I've been doing qigong for about 40 years. So a long time. I mean, since I was really just getting out of my teens.
A lifetime thing for you.
Yeah, I'm a Reiki master. She is as well. We're both Reiki master teachers. I've studied prana healing as well, medical qigong. I've been a massage therapist, personal trainer. I've studied nutrition. So I've approached health and wellness completely from every aspect I could think of it, as well as going deep into the spiritual side of things.
And I've just been kind of off my whole life.
No, she's an amazing psychic intuitive.
We're all weirdos, if you don't know that.
Yeah.
According to the normies, we're weirdos.
Yeah.
And Vedic astrology too is one of the things that Cindy does. But I mean, she could literally find almost anybody when they've passed on, and even give instances of what they were seeing and things like that.
I gotta say, he's quite a protector for me, because I know that's been a problem my whole life. And when I met Mike, now it's become a blessing. But before, I was, my energy was not controllable until I really started learning Qigong and learning different modalities and methods. And now I can isolate myself, control myself, ground myself. And I use Vedic astrology and all kinds of different ways to understand energy. For me, it's an understanding thing. I have to understand, and it has to be the way I understand it. So thanks for having us on.
You are welcome, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that y'all guys are seeking the truth and figuring it out in your way, which is how we all got to do this. We can't judge anybody for the methods, because I've been judged a lot. That's somehow I ended up only God will judge me on my back. But I don't. I love what y'all guys are doing. I'm very glad that y'all guys have chosen to be part of the Supernatural Show network. I'll get with y'all guys again here real soon, give you some more details and information as to how we can better work together in some different ways. That I've got some ideas. So I'll be back in touch again real soon. And again, thank y'all guys for watching today. Sorry we were only able to go live on the Logic Before Authority channel, but it was just what we could do. We thought it was better than nothing. So, and we appreciate y'all guys being there. I bet you Super Dave and Mike Smith are watching, along with probably Roxy and Shannon as well. They decided to sit today out and just be in the comments so that I could just hang out with y'all guys. So I greatly appreciate them. And Miss Kim was tied up, had to run to town, so she wasn't able to be here, which worked out because there's not much to monitor other than one YouTube channel. So again, thank y'all guys for being here. And
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Our pleasure, Daniel. Thank you so much.
And let me know after we get done with this. Just let me know when you want me to be on your show. We'll work that out. Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
Great.
good.
And I'll come in and blow everybody's minds with what they're walking around with on their bodies and in their bodies. Wait till you hear the rest of the story.
Sounds good. We look forward to it.
All right. All right, guys. Well, have a good day, and everybody out there, have a wonderful day. And remember, our Father in heaven loves you, and I love you too. And we'll see you next time.